Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Afra character guide. If you are just here for a quick reference, I've created a pocket guide for the beginning of the video. Afra's trait is Dream Catch. This increases her magical attack and healing effects by 12%, grants her immunity to frosty tiles, and increases her movement by 2 tiles. At the end of Afra's turn, she inflicts the Nightmare debuff on all enemies within 6 tiles of her. Nightmare is a debuff that reduces damage by 5% and increases damage taken and piercing damage taken by 5% as well. This debuff cannot be immunized. If the target already has the Nightmare debuff, then Afra additionally inflicts the Labyrinth of Dreams debuff and 1 random level 2 debuff. Labyrinth of Dreams is a mark. During its duration, sleep cannot be interrupted. When being inflicted again, or the duration is over, 30% of all damage taken during the Labyrinth of Dreams duration is calculated, which should not exceed 600% magical attack of Afra. And when being inflicted again, Afra additionally deals piercing damage equal to 30% of her magical attack. This instance of damage can be counted as damage taken in the Labyrinth of Dreams duration, and this effect cannot be dispelled or immunized. Here's a table detailing Afra's growths at each star level. She has the most notable gains at star level 3 and star level 5. Her initial skill is Healing Spell. This is a 1 energy cost, 0 turn cooldown initial skill. This is the same healing spell we are familiar with from other healers such as Inanna, Angel, and KA Light Conjurer. For a little bit of trivia, Afra is the first destroyer to have Healing Spell. At rank 1, I recommend Fantasy Whisper. Fantasy Whisper is an active, single-target skill that deals piercing damage, costing 2 energy with a 2-turn cooldown. This deals 70% magical attack as piercing damage. Before attacking, the target is inflicted with Nightmare, Vulnerable 2, and Piercing Vulnerable 2 debuffs. If the target already has Nightmare, this skill will additionally inflict Labyrinth of Dreams scaling with Afra's trait, and after attacking, the target falls asleep. Echo of Revelry is a passive skill that deals minor AoE healing. After Afra casts an active class skill, she will heal allies within 3 tiles of her for 20% of her magical attack. Fantasy Whisper sets up several debuffs on a priority target for the rest of your team to capitalize on. Echo of Revelry, as mentioned, performs AoE healing that only scales with 20% of Afra's magical attack and is dependent on Afra actively casting class skills. At rank 3, I recommend Tread on Snow with the Castalia for Dream Telling Game. Tread on Snow is an instant skill where Afra jumps within 2 to 3 tiles, transforms into a deer, and deals piercing damage equal to 20% of her magical attack to all enemies within 2 tiles. After casting Tread on Snow, Afra retains her trait effects in deer form and possesses some additional characteristics. In deer form, Afra cannot move. Damage taken is reduced by an additional 30%. Afra will transform back to her human form before the start of her next 2 turns, and finally, at the end of each turn in deer form, Afra heals all allies within 3 tiles of her by 60% of her magical attack. Here's an overview of her skills in deer form. Call of the Deer, a basic attack that deals piercing damage equal to 40% of her magical attack. Tread on Snow, Deer Steps, an active mobility skill that allows her to jump to tiles. Awakening Dreams, a single target heal. Deer Spirit Light and AoE heal, and Wake Up Deer to transform back to human form. With the Dream Telling Game passive skill, Afra gains 1 energy at the start of her turn and triggers a Dream Telling effect on a rotation. The first skill in the rotation is Dream Entered, which grants Afra meditation for 2 turns. The next skill is Dream Enlightened, a global ability that dispels 2 debuffs for all allies in battle, as well as grant them an attack 2 buff. The final skill is Dream Blessed, another global ability that grants all allies defense 2 buffs. If Afra's passive skills are blocked, the Dream Telling Game rotation will pause until the debuff is cleared. At rank 5, I recommend Run My Deer. With Run My Deer, Afra gains Unyielding at the start of battle, allowing her to trigger Resolve and recover 35% HP once per battle. When taking active attacks, damage is reduced by 15% and she will turn into a deer on a 3-turn cooldown. If Afra's reaction skills are blocked, she will not transform into a deer after taking active attacks. Endurer reduces damage over time effects by 50%, such as Infection, Scorch, and Life Loss. Run My Deer increases Afra's uptime in deer form if you are also using the Tread on Snow skill. This is a good reaction skill when using Afra as a support unit. However, if using Afra as a piercing damage dealer, then using Run My Deer risks disrupting her damage flow. At rank 7, I recommend Phantom and Fantasy with a Costallion for Awakening Dreams. Phantom and Fantasy is an AoE form of her Fantasy Whisper skill from rank 1, dealing piercing damage equal to 50% of her magical attack to all enemies within 3 tiles and performing the same debuff flow. Awakening Dreams is the same healing skill from her deer form, but with different costs. At rank 9, I recommend Proverb in Fantasy. Proverb in Fantasy is Afra's unique basic attack, dealing piercing damage equal to 50% of her magical attack and inflicts 1 random level 2 debuff and the Nightmare debuff. After attacking, she has a 30% chance to additionally inflict sleep and a guaranteed chance to inflict sleep if the target is injured. Merciful Strike deals 80% magical damage and increases the effect of Afra's next healing skill by 15%. If you are primarily playing Afra as a healer, you may consider Merciful Strike. At rank 11, your options are Calamity of Icefield or Light of Healing. Calamity of Icefield deals 60% ice AoE damage to all enemies in a massive target range of 3 tiles. However, given that this will transform tiles into frosty tiles, this can be a boon or a hindrance to your party depending on team composition. Light of Healing is an AoE heal and will dispel 1 debuff. This is the same skill we are familiar with from Angel and Flavia's Summa Flora. My pick here at this rank is Calamity of Icefield. This is my general build recommendation. For your first skill slot, use either Phantom and Fantasy or Fantasy Whisper, using the appropriate skill for AoE or single target encounters respectively. For your second skill slot, use Tread on Snow to focus offensive power in human form and healing power in deer form. Playing Afra in deer form does have a greater skill ceiling, so feel free to consider Awakening Dreams if you are less comfortable. Afra's Astral Imprint is Dream Turbidity. This weapon increases magical attack by 6% and adds a dispel to healing skills. After casting healing class skills, the character will gain Dream Omen Doom, which further increases magical attack and inflicts 1 random level 2 debuff when dealing piercing damage. This effect is stackable up to 3 stacks. After casting piercing damage skills, the character will gain Dream Omen Life, which increases healing effects stackable up to 3 stacks. This weapon suits Afra the best. No other unit has the hybrid piercing damage and healing kit that she does to make use of all the effects this weapon has to offer. For weapon recommendations, other than Dream Turbidity, Nightmare Puppet is another great option for Afra to additionally inflict level 2 debuffs and Nightmare Puppet against enemies. If you are playing Afra and Convallaria together, because Afra has greater speed than Convallaria, she can apply Piercing Vulnerable and Nightmare Puppet debuffs so Convallaria does not have to. If both the above Astral Imprint options are inaccessible to you, Diffusing Prism is a fine option to increase Afra's piercing damage. As always, Starry Sky Heritage is always a great general option for the HP and magical attack increases. If you are playing Afra as a dedicated healer, Reorganized Cube is serviceable as well. For trinket recommendations, Shield of Justice is a great and versatile option for the attack and defense increases, contributing to Afra's piercing damage, healing output, and physical survivability. Although Afra can make a capable healer for your team, she has few ways of healing herself. Spring Pill adds self-healing and self-cleansing, and because her trait increases healing effects, Spring Pill will do more healing as well. Afra has a respectable speed of 275, so she can well utilize Old Scrolls of August to speed up a slower ally. For tarot recommendations, for a general option, Course of Fortune is a versatile and hybrid choice for damage, healing, mitigation, and energy recovery. The AoE piercing damage trigger will benefit from her Piercing Vulnerable debuff as well. On any maps with high target count, it is always reasonable to consider Temptation of the Devil. Because of Afra's piercing damage profile, she benefits more from attack increases rather than damage or crit increases. If you are playing Afra as a dedicated healer, consider Mercy of the High Priestess to increase healing output, or Elegance of the Empress for additional dispel utility. For engraving options, Sword and Wand remains the best option for the attack and defense gains following movement, which will increase her piercing damage, healing output, and survivability. If you are playing Afra as a dedicated healer, you may consider Double Cup as well. To provide some composition and usage tips, Afra's skill kit comprises of piercing damage, healing, crowd control, and debuff infliction. She is the first destroyer with strong healing capabilities, but her independent piercing damage identity contests with Convallaria and Karis. However, it is notable that Afra is another source of a piercing vulnerable to debuff after Convallaria. Because she has faster speed than Convallaria, this actually benefits his own active damage even more. Using Afra as a healer is serviceable if you are lacking strong healers in your roster. However, with her Labyrinth of Dreams mark, as well as Nightmare, Vulnerable, and Piercing Vulnerable debuffs, Afra can greatly increase group damage output. For a quick overview of external category buffs, Miguel's World Drifter aura provides 5% more attack and 10% more defense than typical leaders' auras. Aisha's Moonlit Hills decreases damage taken when healthy and grants Fortitude allies an additional 8% attack and defense on top of the baseline attribute increases. Magnus's Blood and Steel also decreases damage taken when healthy and immunizes Afra against the negative effects of injured. This increases her overall toughness. That concludes this character guide. If you have any feedback to share with me, please leave a comment below. I'm open to listening and being wrong. I'm another player improving and learning more about Sword of Convallaria just like you are. Remember, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. Finally, my social media contacts are displayed here to connect with me as well. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources for helping me put together this character guide. Voyage Memento for character build samples and reference links, the No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, and the Billy Game site for character art assets. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.